Good Tuesday evening, everybody. It's Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich here for Live Weather Impact. It is now March 3rd, 2026, and we had another cloudy, kind of gray day, but the good news, if you love warm weather, we've got a great stretch of weather heading ahead of us, and it really is going to be kind of wild. It's actually going to feel more like maybe late May as opposed to early March. So tomorrow, your weather impacts, we're going to start. It's going to be a sunny, warmer day. Temperatures in the mid-70s. Late week, really, and I'm talking Thursday beyond, probably near 80 plus every single day through the middle of next week. Not a lot of rain in the forecast, but we do have some isolated rain chances. We actually could use a little bit of rain in this severe to extreme drought that we have now. Now, I want to look back because the last 10 days have been a wild ride. 10 days ago, it was 83 degrees. We had the warmest February temperature all time. We saw a cool down Monday, Tuesday last week, really chilly, low 40s, above, well below average. And then we kind of bounced all over the place in the last 5 or 6 days. It all started with really that Sunday temperature where it was 77 degrees, and even though today and yesterday ended up slightly above average by a degree or two, it actually felt a whole lot colder because it was 77 on Sunday. So that was just a dramatic change. But don't worry, we're going back to the 70s. If you loved them this past weekend, we got more of them on the way. It's a pretty interesting pattern. If this was, let's say, June, July, or August, this would be a scorching heat wave that's going to be heading our way. Upper 50s right now, so pretty mild. We had some late day sun, and by the way, sunset tonight was 6:21. It's getting later and later and later. By the weekend, with the time change, you're talking like 7:30 almost. So pretty dramatic change in daylight coming here for the evening hours. Tonight, we will cool down. It's the upper 40s. You see that 20% chance. That's likely Mr. Drizzle. We could see some patchy fog form tonight. Certainly, if the skies do clear out, we've got enough low-level moisture left over to produce some fog. So temperatures in the mid-40s, which might seem cool, but the average low is like 39, 40 degrees. So this is actually a little bit above average. And this morning, if you're out, it was really chilly. We saw upper 30s to around 40, so it was a cool day. But tomorrow, the patios for lunchtime will be packed. People will be out in the parks. Greenways will be packed. Temperatures in the mid-upper 70s. Lots of sunshine. Southwest breezes blowing in. Not only warm air, but a whole bunch of pollen as well. So get ready for that explosion this week. You see the pattern. We jokingly call that southwest flow the blowtorch, but I think you'll all experience it this week. Southwest winds are going to be super warm, super humid at times as well. We're actually going to see maybe our first humid weather with some overnight lows in the upper 50s to near 60. So that's really when you notice things getting warm and you see a lot of growth happen with the plants and vegetation is when those overnight temperatures start to warm up. Now, when we have a ridge like we're going to have over the southeast, on the western flank, you tend to see a lot of rain, sometimes a stagnant pattern as well on the edges of these ridges. And that's what we're going to see in the middle of the country. Not only 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row of possible severe storms to the west. So this is really going to lay down a lot of moisture to our west. And that's actually going to show up in some of the longer range patterns. And I'll show you real quickly here in a minute some of those longer range patterns as we look at some really heavy rain in the middle of the country. But I mentioned that southwest wind and the pollen. If you're an allergy sufferer from tree pollen, two of the worst things you're going to want to see is cedar and oak. Oak is really bad. Those two are popping up. We're going from like medium levels early this week to high tomorrow to very high Thursday and Fridays because you're going to get tree pollen locally, right? You got a lot of trees budding. If you've been out and about, you can actually see kind of all the red buds in the trees, some of the flowering trees, the Bradford pears, the cherry, the apple trees are all starting to get those buds and flowers. But we're also blowing in all the pollen from areas to our southwest where the trees have been going a little bit earlier. So this is the pattern the next 7 days. High pressure off the southeast coast, southwest winds, cranking in that warm, humid air. So that's all the record warmth. But in the middle of the country, that's where you have all the storms. Repeated days of strong, possibly some severe storms there, and that's reflected in our rainfall forecast. We'd love to get some of that rain over us, maybe not all at once, but that would be a huge help for the drought. You see some of these totals, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain from North Texas all the way up into the Ohio Valley, because that's repeated days of waves of storms, because every day that we see the sun come up, the dry line's going to come out of the plains, it's going to produce a whole bunch of showers and storms. But for us, not much rain. We're bone dry now, and with the warm air this week, evaporation rates rates go up. We see the plant life coming back. It's all going to start pulling moisture out of the soil. So if you haven't noticed the drought because it's been wintertime, you're going to notice this week because all that moisture that was sitting on the top of the soil is going to get used up. Also, don't forget, we lose an hour of sleep. That's the bad news. The good news, we start shifting daylight to the evening. Remember, we're not adding daylight. We're only adding about 2 hours a day because of the tilt of the Earth already and our orbit around the sun. This is really shifting when the light happens by changing the clocks from the morning to the evening. So sunrise is at 7:43 a.m. as opposed to 6:43, and now the new sunset is going to be 7:25 instead of 6:25. So we're shifting it to the evenings. You'll really notice that Sunday night. Now, jet stream pattern, this is what I talked about. If we had this pattern in June or July, we'd be talking about sweltering heat, low to mid 90s, maybe even upper 90s, tons of humidity. That doesn't last long. Next week, there are signs of changes as we see a shift in the jet stream. But this weekend, it's going to feel like spring. 80, that's our average high by mid to late May, not early March. Such a wild ride. Our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day shows a stretch of weather that you normally would see later in the spring, not early. A Charlotte FC home game, the first one of the season, normally cold. This one's going to be warm and not a lot of rain either. I'll show you the 10-day forecast just to show you when things could come to an end. And it looks like next Thursday is when the first front gets in here and knocks the pattern back the other direction. So we go from possibly a few record highs near 80, low 80s to 60s and eventually 50s, and hopefully some much needed rainfall by then, because we'll get the drought monitor on this Thursday. Probably not a great setup. Next week we'll have another one, probably not as good, with maybe another chance of rain. Stick around. Coming up, we're going to talk Creek Week with Stormwater Services, and we got to talk about Severe Weather Awareness Week as well. Coming up with Tim Buckley. Stick around in 2 minutes.